Hey! Today I'll be talking about Graal Classics Graaloween event over the years. If you're interested, then maybe consider subscribing. It really helps to grow this channel to its best ability. With that being said, let's begin. 2010 is when Graaloween was first introduced. The event was basic. You had to find an NPC cat which would be running around the city. It spawned in various places throughout the map. If you found it successfully, then you would have the ability to turn into a cat, which would eventually be called a cat morph. In 2011, the event would take place in Deadwood. There was a ghost and a witch. The ghost would give you repetitive quests to obtain 3 Graaloween-themed hats, while the witch would give you a list of 12 ingredients to find, which would reward you with an exclusive skeleton morph with the color choices of red or green. They would also give players the opportunity to submit their own hats. 16 hats were chosen to be sold at the Onnit General Store for only 1 graalet. The top 3 hats were featured in Deadwood and sold for 100 graalets. In 2012, they would release the candy hunting system. By placing ghosts all around the city, the ghosts would initially spawn in various locations with candies shown inside them. They would drop the candy every 10 minutes before vanishing to the next spawn. You could give your candies to the various NPCs shown in almost every building. They would ask for 5 candies, and in return they would give you a trick or a treat. A treat would be a cross between hats, items, or graalets, though a trick would result in your character having weird effects for 10 minutes. You could only give candy to the same NPC once every 8 hours. 2012 is also when the witch first appeared on her broom. She was the main part of the event. She would spawn in various locations throughout the map. You had to answer her 5 trivia questions quickly and correctly. Each time you got to her, the questions would change. Though in the end, the reward would be an exclusive broom mount. But in 2013, the candy hunting system would remotely be the same concept as before, but this time without the witch. The ghosts would also look completely different than before. They gave players an option to use their bug net to catch the candy within the ghosts for an easier experience. And this is what made gaining candies a fast-paced experience. The first 10 players to collect the most amount of candies would receive an personal trophy. But in 2014, they changed the candy hunting system by removing all the ghosts and by adding a mushroom hut, which would be known as the witch's hut. Though the witch was not the main part of the event, players would have 2 options for participating, either being a giver or a collector. Givers would buy a candy ball to keep in their house for players to treat the most, while collectors would go around people's houses and collect the most, though you could only get 1 candy per every house. While the witch was releasing giant pumpkin blobs for people to kill, which would explode out thousands of candies landing on the ground. The candy prizes would be a choice between 5 grab bags within the hut, each containing its own set of categories. The green bag would contain decorations. The white bag would contain graalets. The black bag would contain amount. The red bag would contain hats. And finally the orange bag would contain usable items. Though in 2015, they brought back the previous method of candy collecting with ghosts. 2015 had a new set of NPCs known as the trick-or-treaters. You are able to choose between 1 to 5 candies to give them. They would usually spawn outside various buildings, only for a few seconds max. In 2015 they gave away a cat mount as a treat. In 2016, in order to communicate with the trick-or-treaters, you were required to purchase a candy basket from Onnit General Store, as well as purchasing and wearing a mask from Taylor Richards if you ever wanted to participate with the trick-or-treaters again. They would also introduce zombies and monsters to kill for candies. A single zombie contains 1 candy, a giant zombie contains a couple candies, the goblin gives free candies, and the previous giant pumpkin blob would explode tremendous amounts of candies. The mushroom hut would also return, but it would be located inside the Deadwood cave. The hut would now initially sell hats, morphs, and mounts to buy with candy, as there were 4 prize bags instead of 5. With the removal of the mount bag, every item would always return the following year, whilst adding newer items which would also return every year from the hut. The witch would also return with her new trivia questions, except the reward would be a smaller version of the previous iconic broom mount. And the witch would never return again. In 2019, they sold a mini Frankenstein monster morph in the Mod Town Carnival to celebrate Graaloween. And the Graaloween event hasn't changed ever since. Thanks for watching. Leave a big thumbs up. For more Graal classic videos, consider subscribing. And of course liking. Alright. Peace.